Hey guys, making this right before you see the podcast, or if you hear the podcast or watch the video. I messed up some of the parts of the names, so this should be before the video starts. So, part one, Phantom Blood. Part two, Battle Tenacity. Part three, Star Crusaders, or is it Starship Crusaders? I think it's just Star Crusaders. Part four is not Golden Wind. It is Diamond Unbreakable or Unbreakable Diamond, depending on English or what country you come from. Part five is Golden Experience, Golden Wind, because once again, depending on what language you have. Then part six is Stone Ocean. Also, it's risotto, Damien. Risotto, not risotto, risotto. Because he says his name is risotto. Now, other characters say risotto, but I say risotto. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy, and I'm sorry once again for getting the parts mixed up. I was just going over my notes, and I kept speed reading, so that's my own fault. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Queuing Up Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Damian Rocha Jr., and today, friends, family, and whoever else is watching this, we are going to be doing something that I kind of already did, but more of like, it was more of like a review and then a quick ranking of what I liked. This is one that we're going to revisit called the ranking of Jojos ranking, whatever you want to call it, right? It's just an actual thorough, well thought out ranking of parts 1 through 6. And this is after the video, if you've already seen it, where I went and just basically talked about the experience that I had watching Jojos. And I feel like I didn't really give enough time to think about a lot of things, sit down and really go through each thought of each pro, each con, why I was upset with each thing. But I've done that. I want to talk to you guys about that. And I'm going to roughly try to make this anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, if I'm being honest, because I want to be as thorough as I can so there's not many questions asked at the end of this. So starting off, we're going to have pros and cons. Now, if you know what pros and cons are, it's going to be things I loved, things I hated, right? And I use those words because those are both strong words. Love means I absolutely loved everything about it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Like everything about it was great. Cons, there was so much that I would change about it, or like it's just there to be there. Like there's no point in having it. Could easily get rid of it, change it, like stuff like that. Now, if there are things that I did not list, whether it's in the pros or cons, that does not mean that I hate them or love them. That literally means I enjoyed them so much. It's just, I enjoyed them so much. That's it. I just enjoyed them. If they're not on the pros and cons, I enjoyed them because the pros are things I love. The cons are things I hated. So that means if the two things are there, that means the middle part would be everything else that I'm not explaining, right? So with all of that said and out of the way, I hope that I can be as thorough as I can with you guys to make it, like I said, so there's no questions at all. All right? So going from 6 to 1, because we're starting off with the ones that, has the most pros and cons or whatever I want to talk about the most. Now, that does not mean I hate this part, okay? Let me phrase this. This is my opinion, and that does not mean that the lowest ranked one does not mean I hate it, okay? It just means that I liked the other ones that much more. Because if I'm being honest, I could easily watch any part of JoJo's over and still enjoy it just as much as I did the first time. But like I said, I sat there, went through everything, did my homework, did my research on things, nitpick things I loved and hated, right? So, starting off, we're going to be doing part 3 of JoJo's with Jotaro. And I know I can already see you guys grabbing your pitchforks and, your torches, but give me a minute to explain why this is the lowest ranked one for me. One more time, for me. This guy you see right here, my opinion. If you love part 3, hey, kudos to you. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad part. It's not. It just has things that I would change and or make it, in my eyes, better. So, we're going to start off with the pros because I want to start off great, and we're going to end off with the bad stuff because that's just what I like doing, right? So, part 3 is where we get the concept of stands. Now, technically, you could say no, you can't say part 2 because Jotaro was just introduced in part 2, but he's not set as Jotaro, I don't believe. I might be wrong. But part 3, we get the concept of stands, which is the manifestation of life force of a user in like the strength of their mind, like a strong mental fortitude, right? It's brought forth into a personification of either like a humanoid object, some kind of animal object, or literally sometimes it's just like anything. Like this cap can be my stand. And when I flick it at somebody, it captures you. Like, that's it. It can literally be anything. That's the thing I loved about stands. The whole concept of stands to me is amazing, in my opinion. And it's the fact of it's just not like, oh, this is a big buff guy. No, it's literally different things. Like, there's a dude whose stand is, before I go on, keep in mind, spoilers. If you haven't watched these parts, skip these. Skip this whole video and come back when you're done, because I'm going to be spoiling so much for all of you, right? I'm going to be spoiling so much. So, there's a gentleman whose stand is literally just the sun. Let that sink in. It's just the sun. Now, a lot of people might say, like, I don't know why I have headphones and I don't have any music playing. Anyways, but a lot of people will sit there and be like, well, isn't that cool? Like, isn't that a great thing? Yes, it is. That's why I liked it. There's so much unique things you can do with stands. And the fact that there's so many different ones in part 3, that is pretty cool to me. And that's going on to the next point, is there's a lot of stands in part 3. I'm pretty sure part 3 has the most introductions of stands. There is so many stands. There's a lot of cool stands too. For example, you have Silver Chariot from Polnareff. You have the Fool with Iggy. You have Emperor from what's his name? Whole Horse. Emperor is pretty cool. And if you know me, one of my friends, his name's Brody, very cool guy. He got me into this, and he always laughs when I tell him I like the way that Whole Horse calls out his stand, because he's like, Emperor! Like, he says it really, like, aggressive, and basically just yells his stand, and it's just a gun. It's a gun that shoots bullets that I believe hit its target. Like, he can manipulate the bullet to hit you. And that's just cool to me. It's a gun that just appears in his hands. And I thought that was pretty cool. Another one, I like the stand, not the character. Alexei, he has a stand who I forget its name, because a lot of these are named after tarot cards, and then some of them are named after, like, Egyptian gods and goddesses. So I forget his, but his is a shadow that when it touches you, it de-ages you. Now, this guy's weird. He is a pedo. He's straight up pedo, because he gets off on, like, hurting kids. He's a freak. And then you have, like, Mariah, who I believe anything she touches becomes magnetized. She's dope. You have the Darby brothers, Darby older, Darby younger. I prefer Darby older over Darby younger. They both have to deal with, like, gambling, or like, kind of, it's essentially gambling is what the first brother is. The older brother's gambling. The second brother is essentially the same as gambling, but, like, through video games, because the older one is just usually gambling through cards. And he's cool. I thought his whole concept was cool. His stand was cool. It's just really, overall, I love the amount of stands that you got to see, because, like I said, you get to see so many things, and it's really refreshing, because it's not just the same thing. Oh, this guy's the sun. This guy is the fire of the sun. This guy's the light of the sun. No, it's this guy's the sun. This guy's a sword that takes over other people, and that's his whole gimmick. This dude has a shadow that de-ages you. This woman has magnetism. This is a bird who can freeze you. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we doing? Like, I will talk about this point until the cows come home. The idea of having so many different people and characters, whether they're good or bad or just there to be there, are so cool to me. Like, there's so many stands. But I don't want to sit here forever, like I said, because I'm trying to get through this. And I don't want to just basically glaze the one pro out of the many that I have. But moving on to the next one, Polnareff is a character that I very much like in the show. Is he my favorite character out of the series? No. But does he have probably the best character development out of the series? 100% yes. Polnareff is like the comedic relief, heartwarming, goofy character who can literally just be serious. Like, he has so many different attributes about him. And then Silver Chariot just being dope to me as a character and a stand together. Because you have Polnareff, who, like I said, he is a Frenchman, Jean-Pierre Polnareff. And he, essentially, his story is he's trying to find the man who murdered his sister. He has 2 left hands? Or is it 2 right hands? Anyways, the killer has 2 of the same hand, because it's like, that's just his genetics. He was born with the same hands. And he's trying to find the guy who did that, obviously. And that's when he tries finding the killer, runs into Dio. Dio puts the brain parasite thing in his head to control him. Polnareff, I believe it was Avdol that fought him. Avdol just basically played him and was like, hey, my fire doesn't actually hurt me. I was just playing dead. They get Polnareff saved. Polnareff's like, let me come with you. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll come with you. But his story overall is really good, especially when he gets to the, what is your name? I swear it had a number in it. I might be wrong. I'll Google it while I'm talking. But essentially, this guy is, his whole gimmick is granting wishes, and he grants wishes to Polnareff, who wishes to have his sister alive again. And so he goes, all right, your wish is granted, but beware. Oh, Judgment is his name. And he says, but beware. Every wish you make essentially will have the consequence of you making it. So in this one, Jean-Pierre Polnareff, or just Polnareff, wishes his sister to come back to life, and she does. However, there's a kicker to it. This is not actually his sister. This is like a flesh-eating demon thing that's going to eat him alive. And then he also makes a wish that he wishes Avdol was back alive because he blames himself for Avdol dying, because he meets the guy with the two hands that are facing the same direction. But in doing so, he meets Whole Horse. Now, these two were originally meant to jump Avdol, because in the anime, I don't know if it's different in the manga, in the anime, Avdol was told to get jumped, essentially. Or not told to get jumped. He is a target to get jumped, and Dio told the guy with the two hands, and then Whole Horse to jump Avdol because he's dangerous. Like, I don't know why. They didn't really say why. They just said that he's a threat. And I was like, oh, I wonder if, like, his flames do something crazy or something like that, right? But overall, Polnareff jumps the gun, tries tagging that guy, Whole Horse jumps in, and then you get Avdol saving him, getting shot in the head, and essentially dying on the spot, and that crushes Polnareff as a person, right? And he deals with that. That's why he makes that wish. And Avdol shows up, and that crazy, evil Avdol starts like hurting him, ripping him apart, eating him alive. And then the actual Avdol shows up and says, it's not actually your fault. Like, Polnareff just goes through so much in this part, and he's so good, dude. He's such a solid character. If I had to make a character, like, he's probably up there just in just all-around characters. Like, there's a lot of characters in the show. There's very few characters that are 10 out of 10. Polnareff is probably one of those 10 out of 10 characters. He's not my favorite, but I love how he's written. I love how he can accept his faults, how he works on them, and he can continue to grow as a character. The final pro that I have for part 3 is going to be the reveal of Dio's stand of the world. Now, this was probably, if I already didn't have this ruined for me because of so many, and not even spoilers, just so many memes of Zawaldo. Like, there was one with LeBron James where I can't remember the clip, but there's someone going up for a layup, and you just hear the like the ticking noise, and then just a bomb, Zawaldo, and it's just LeBron jumping from half court, getting right behind the ball, time speeds up, and he slaps the ball against the backboard. It was so funny. And just like I said, if I didn't have it ruined for me, I feel like this would be even more crazy to me, or just crazier, for better English, would be crazier to me to actually experience in real time without having anything spoiled. Because I think the only kind of hint we got at this is when Whole Horse is attempting to shoot Dio, because he just doesn't want to work for Dio anymore. He's just scared for his life. So he thinks about it, and then it's literally, I don't even think he blinks. I don't even think Whole Horse blinks. He says, as soon as I thought about shooting him, he appeared behind me. And I'm like, what the hell? And if you don't know, Dio's a vampire. Oh, like, big spoilers. So he already moves fast, for like, faster than humans' eyes can keep up. But they're stand users. So stand users basically are superhuman in some way, shape, or form. So that's like, I think relatively the only hint you really get is that you can kind of guess it's something to do with time. But the reveal of it was so cool. Shout out to the homie Kakuin. That dude goes, wait a minute, I figured you out. And in doing so, he does die, and then he passes on the message in like a cryptic way, just so Joseph can be like, wait a minute, what was Kakuin shooting at the clock for? Oh my god, it's time. And it was so dope. It was actually really well written, really well done on the reveal. I just wish personally that I could have not known how his stand worked and what the name of it was, because it would have been so cool afterwards just to understand it. And then real quick before we move on, going back to the concept of stands, I always forgot to bring up that this was pretty cool. That when Dio got his stand, it cursed the Jojo family of getting stands themselves. That's why Jotaro's just manifested out of nowhere. Joseph's manifested out of nowhere. It was a cool concept. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Is as soon as Dio got his stand, Jonathan, like the body that he took, was like, hey, my family needs help, so I'm going to use my willpower to push out stands on other people. So it was pretty cool. Next up, we're going to be moving on to the cons. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Damon, you said you had a lot of pros. I did. I really condensed them down to just 4 because, like I said, the concept of stands, that there's so much I could talk about on different points of those things. For example, the concept of stands, like what they are, what they do, how they work, who has them, who can have them. Can you be born with them? Yes, you can be born with them. How do you get them, right? And then the many different stands, and I named different stands that were pretty cool. I didn't name all of them. I just named the ones I thought were pretty cool, or like you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. Polnareff, just Polnareff. Dio stand reveal, just Dio stand reveal. Just kind of condense the first 2 points into like general points, so I wouldn't keep talking and take up too much time. Well, now we're going to be moving on to the cons. The first one being a lot of enemies are very weak in this. And it's just like, this goes along with the many new stands. You get to see a lot of their powers. You get to see a lot of what they do, how they work. But a lot of these enemies are dealt with within an episode. The most, I think, was what? 3? 3 episodes? I think so. I think it was 3 episodes. Some of them last half an episode. They're just there. And like, I understand the whole point is like, oh, Dio sent these guys out to waste your time, to slow you down, to stop you. But it's like, a lot of them could have just been taken out of the story. Like, there's one with a car that's just a car with a stand. It could have easily just been gotten rid of. The car guy didn't really add much besides it's a car that drives up walls and has a mouth and can attack you. Like, it's a cool idea, but at the same time, you could have just left that whole part out. There's a scene with an orangutan that's also a pedo. That's a ship that you could have easily just left out. There's just, I don't know. It seems like a lot of like even the more like powerful lackeys of Dio seem to just get dealt with within like an episode or 2. Now the ones that take 3 or longer, that's pretty cool. I like those ones. But it just seems like there's a lot of weak enemies. Like, give us something. Like, give us a scar, like how Kakyoin got his eye slash, and you actually see the scars on his eye. Give us something for later on throughout the show, because they make it sound like, yeah, we've been through so much in this short amount of time together. The only thing they have on them is eye scratches. They don't have any other scars. Their clothes are perfectly intact. I'm just like, dude, it looks like you just got here within a week. Like, you didn't really do much. Like, it just shows, like, you go to a tailor and get the exact same outfit. Like, I understand it's an anime and there's like goofy parts of it, but like, come on. Next up, I feel like a lot of people are going to hate this, but I don't care. I will die on this hill. Specifically, now look at me, look at you, looking at me, right? Specifically to this part and this part only, Jotaro is bland as hell. He's just bland. He's not robotic. He's bland. What I mean by that is, he shows like emotion, but a lot of his emotion is still kind of monotone. Like, he'd be like, I don't think we're strong enough. Punches somebody. Oh, we should save him. Punches somebody. Like, his whole thing is just being bland. And like, I think the only thing he does that isn't as bland as him entirely is I want to say, is it arrogant is what I'm looking for? Because it just seems like he seems very, not necessarily cocky or full of himself. He just seems bland. Like, he doesn't really explain much until after it's done. And then when he does, it's not like, okay, so I thought of that because when I saw him do this, I'm like, oh, there's 3 seconds in between him loading his punch and shooting it. So that gives us time to react. No, he'll be like, his punch was slow, so I reacted fast. Brother, what? Like, Iggy gives a better explanation of what he did. And he doesn't even fucking talk. He's a dog. Anyways, moving on from bland-ass Jotaro in part 3, is the way they found out how to beat Dio was absolute bullshit to me. Absolute. This is probably the only time I really saw plot armor or just the development because of plot. So, Dio's whole gimmick, right, is stopping time for 3 to 5 seconds, and it keeps going the more he uses it, because day by day he gets stronger, minute by minute he gets stronger, right? So the longer he goes by being just alive, the stronger he can use the world, the longer he can use the world, right? But what makes me mad, absolutely mad about this, is Jotaro just looks at Dio and goes, our stands are similar. I can freeze time too. How? How, Jotaro? How? Wait, what part did your body ever manifest? Did your strong mind ever manifest that into your stand? Dio's whole gimmick is he wants to be immortal. So how do you become immortal? You slow down time. Sure, he can't die unless it's through like straight sun, but like you can't die if you slow down time, right? You don't age if time doesn't flow. Jotaro's whole thing was, I punch hard. I'm a bad boy. When do either one of those line up with fucking slowing down time? And like I said, correct me if I miss something, or if the manga is different. Please, in the comments, let me know if there is an actual explanation besides the dumb bullshit of just, my stand's the same as yours. It's similar. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Get out of here. You're dumb. Screw you and your weird hat hair thing that looks cool, but I'm just mad at you, so I gotta blame something else that you do that pisses me off that actually doesn't. God, Jotaro pisses me off during this whole part. He just gets under my skin. The next con, as you'll see, part 3 probably has the most cons out of any part, because like I said, I really nitpicked every part and tried to find things that genuinely made me angry or like didn't really make sense to it. Avdol has the most wasted potential in the entire show. Like, overall. You're telling me the guy who was told to get jumped, right? The guy Dio sent 2 people specifically to counter him, fight him, get rid of him. Does what? Fight Polnareff, shot in the head, come back from life. He's not really dead. He's had a head injury and he's kind of loopy. His personality does kind of change. He fights the genie guy, right? That's 3 things. One of them is just getting injured. He also saves Avdol and Iggy, or not Avdol, Polnareff and Iggy. Other than that, Avdol really just kind of gets like pushed around, beat up. There's also some weird instances of, now I don't know if this is like filler, because I'm pretty sure, I think part 3 has filler, I might be wrong, but there's parts where Avdol very distinctly tells the group, we have to stick together. Now, it could be said it is because of his personality change when he gets shot in the head, but he's the one who purposely separates everyone. You just said we need to stick together. Now you're separating everyone? Oh, we need to take things serious. Now you're just laughing? Like, the only reason I didn't put that as like a con is because it had a reasoning to it. The only thing I could come up with is since he had that brain trauma, he acts differently. He does things differently now. But yeah, he was very much wasted potential. Like, very much wasted potential. I feel like the fight with him and Vanilla Ice could have been a lot different. Like, I think the thing I would change about his demise is that he just doesn't just die. He just gets caught off guard. He dies. That's it. What I would have done is there's a scene where Vanilla Ice, Cool Ice, however you say it, because there's Japanese version, English version. But when Vanilla Ice comes out and he's all beaten up and bloody, he's like, Avdol, this is your fault. That would have been cool if it would have been like, oh yeah, right before he died, Avdol threw his fire into that void. And the fire started slowly like burning him from the inside. So every time he went into that orb, he was burning. And then he would come out, and that was when Polnareff and Iggy were like, that's what we need. Right there. But like, I feel like they could have done, I feel like Avdol is the Hitsugaya of this. And if you don't know who Hitsugaya is, he is a guy from Bleach who has a lot of wasted potential, because they said Hitsugaya is a prodigy, but you don't see him do a lot. Avdol is the same way. I feel like Avdol could have done a lot of stuff in this show. And funny enough, he is my favorite character, even though I have the most to say about his wasted potential. I love his design. I love Magician Red. I love the fact that, like, Just him activating his stand is a threat because the heat, that comes off of him is so hot that it just melts things around him. Like, it's insane. Next point that is still under the cons is Iggy was hella overhyped. Iggy was insanely overhyped. They made Iggy sound like he is the strongest person on the team. He is nowhere near the strongest person on the team. Now, it can be argued because he does show some things that are pretty like strong, pretty cool. But at the same time, he's just the comedic relief character more than Polnareff. He jumps on Polnareff, farts in his face, he bites people, he steals people's food. Like, he just is there. That's really all Iggy is. And he eats coffee-flavored gum. Like, Iggy does get some good parts. Like, I'm not saying Iggy's a bad character at all. It's just the fact of they overhyped him. They made him sound so strong, so unbeatable, so great. But then, like, he just doesn't do much. Like, his best fights, he only has, 2 good fights? And that's Pet Shop, which that's probably the best fight in my opinion. Him and Pet Shop were going at it. That motherfucking hawk or falcon, whatever that was insanely just persistent. Iggy goes, "You're pissing me off." So go Iggy for doing what he needed to do to get it done. 2 was against, what was his name? Cool Ice, which, once again, solid. Iggy went out like a gangster. But he was overpowered, couldn't do anything, couldn't stop it, right? So his only one really good showing was that one fight against Pet Shop. He lost a paw in the process, too. Iggy's a solid character, but he was overhyped as hell. He was severely overhyped. Next up, this is the last point of part 3. The overall comedy kind of just like ruined the seriousness of we need to get to Egypt as fast as we can because my daughter, or, Jotaro being the son, being like my mom, is dying. But here's a crazy little doll we're going to have fun with. Here's a dog that farts in your face. Here's this funny, goofy, like Oingo and Boingo. God, they had cool abilities, but they're just a waste of time, if I'm being honest. They're such a waste of time. They're comedic relief, but a lot of the comedy in this just takes away from the seriousness to it. Like, I'm okay with comedy, but I feel like part 3 overdoes the comedy. Like, a lot of it is bland-ass comedy. And it's just not even knee slapper where you're like, oh, that was pretty good. It's just like, bro, shut up. Keep moving. It's just, that's all I really got to say about it. The comedy just kind of ruined the overall seriousness of it. And like I said, I would watch part 3 overall. You might think I'm complaining a lot about it, but I would still watch part 3 overall because it's super cool. A lot of stands. Do a lot of cool stuff with it. Sure, Jotaro's bland as hell, but there's a lot of cool interactions between characters. There's a lot of cool lore that happens with this. I do believe this is the longest part currently in the most animated, like up to the most animated stuff. I believe so. Hey, I'd rewatch all of it again. I'd be happy to. Super cool. I loved it. Like I said, those are the pros and cons of part 3. Now, moving on to part 5. Moving on to spot number 5. This one I had to keep flip-flopping in between because I really like this part, but once I actually sat there and looked at the other parts, it really kind of fails in comparison. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what? You put this part over this and that. Once again, my opinion. Shut up. So taking spot number 5 is going to be part 1, Phantom Blood. I forgot to say part 3 was, but we all know part 3. I just call it Jotaro's Adventure. But part 1, Phantom Blood. I really enjoyed this part. I really did. And a lot of my friends who also watch JoJo's, they think that I'm crazy that when I first watched this, and I think I was up to part 4, part 1 was like easily up in the top 2. Easily up in the top 2. Because like it was while I was watching part 4, I believe. I was like, yeah, part 1 and 2 were up there. Part 3 is at the bottom. And they thought I was crazy. And I think the reason why I like part 1 a lot is the foundation of things is what I really like. So a pro of this was it's literally the start of the JoJo line. You get to meet Jonathan, his father, and this is where the whole JoJo line starts. This is where the curse of the JoJo bloodline starts, right? Where you get to meet Dio. This is where you get to see the bravery and like the I forget the word I'm looking for, but you get to see the character of a JoJo. Because like, each JoJo has their own little gimmick or something with them. So like, for example, Jonathan's like this very gentleman-like guy who's super forgiving, and that's his flaw. Joseph is this very cocky guy, but he's super cunning. So like he is smart, but he's overconfident. His overconfidence gets him hurt. Jotaro is just bland as hell. And that's his problem. He's got a cool stand, but he's bland. No, in all seriousness, Jotaro's, I think, biggest issue is his lack of emotion. His lack of emotion is his flaw. But that is what I like. I like the foundation of stuff. I like knowing where something starts, why it's like this. When they have flashbacks, it's like, oh, this happened because of this guy. And if this guy didn't do this, this happened. And part one, a lot of the times gets referenced because of Dio. Dio is an immortal vampire who gets like recalled a lot throughout a lot of parts. But overall, part one was super dope because of that. I really enjoyed it. And it's just overall, like I said, I like having answers to things. Don't get me wrong. I like a good mystery. I like having to look for clues, search for things. But I love when a lot of big questions have answers. Like, when did this all start? Jonathan. Gotcha. And moving right along, you got some cool characters that were introduced. And now these ones are different parts because there's not as many characters in part one as there was in part three, to where I had to mush them together. I can actually break these down. For some of you who don't know, a lot of these all of these characters probably wouldn't even be here personally, besides maybe part 5. Giorno is the only one who isn't really affected by this. The Speedwagon Foundation is made by who? Is it Robert E.O. or O.E.? I can't remember his middle initials. Robert Speedwagon. Speedwagon is the GOAT of JoJo's because almost every character that's in every part of the show would not be there without the Speedwagon Foundation, right? Now, the only one who could be argued is probably part 5, because I don't think Giorno ever really contacts the Speedwagon Foundation or does anything with the Speedwagon Foundation that I recall at this moment. I might be wrong, but there is a character who shows up in part 5 that is involved with the Speedwagon Foundation. But yeah, the Speedwagon, this is a ride or die homie. I have friends who I'm going to start calling Speedwagon. These are my Speedwagons right here. They are ride or die. I don't like this guy. You don't like this guy. We don't like this food. You don't like this food. Like, he's a yes man, but at the same time, he's actually giving good advice to Jonathan. He just, overall, super cool dude. He has an iconic scene where he goes, I know a liar. Or he's like, I know a bitch when I smell one. And it smells like bitch in here. And he's talking to Dio. Like, he calls Dio out on his bullshit right away. Like, he's like, bro, I'm from the streets. I'm a liar through and through. I know your ass is lying. And he's just overall really cool. I love Speedwagon. I love him in part 1. I love him in part 2. He's a gangster. Love him. He makes a whole foundation that funds the JoJo family, right? But moving right along, we have Hamon. Hamon is like a breathing technique that essentially imbues you with the power of the sun, I believe is how they explain it. Because through my research and through me remembering, that's how they explained it, is that like, if I charge Hamon, the energy of Hamon in my fist, I'm going to punch you with the sun. Like, the sunlight is hitting you. You're burning, right? And Hamon is a very cool concept. I really liked it, that it let Jonathan extend his limbs. It let him jump higher, let him run for longer, let him like do a bunch of crazy stuff. And Jonathan locked the hell in. I personally think if you took away stands and you made every single like main JoJo do Hamon, I think Jonathan would be the strongest Hamon user out of all of them, personally. And it's just because he dedicated his life to it, dedicated, himself to fighting, to keep people alive, to save people. Hamon was really cool. Zappelli was dope. From head to toe, one of the drippiest characters in the show. Zappelli was so cool, showing how Hamon worked, how you can transfer it from one thing through another, how you can transform like a leaf into a paraglider, how you can like electrify like things or burn things. I was like, this is so cool. Hamon is such a cool thing, and I wish they kept it. They kind of technically do in part 3 with Hermit Purple, because if I'm not mistaken, that's like a Hamon user's ability or stand, because we get to see Dio use it. And here's the thing that I thought was weird. They say that stand users can't have 2 abilities, but I'm pretty sure Dio is seen using Hermit Purple in the show. It might just be in the show, but then later on is using the world. It's really weird, because I guess like the argument was it's not his body that's getting the stand, it's his head that's getting the stand, because like his neck up is a different life force than the body down. It's weird. I don't know. That's the only reasoning I could come up with. And like, that kind of made sense, because I do believe they have some explanation of what I just said in the show, where it's like, oh no, it's the body of Joseph, but the mind of Dio. I'm just like, okay, that's weird. But next up are pretty cool characters. You have Bruford and Tarkus. These are some warriors that died that were really strong, really overpowered, have cool lore, and they're actually really interesting characters, because you have Bruford, who is a warrior, who essentially, I do believe it is the one with the longer hair, takes a liking to Jonathan because of his bravery, because like he's facing an immortal opponent and he's not backing down. And you have Tarkus, you know me. I love the Hulk. I love big brooding, like, me kill, me strong, me rip you in half long way. And that's basically what Tarkus is. He's just a bloodthirsty warrior. And he ends up getting dealt with, and before Bruford dies, he actually blesses the Jojo bloodline with luck and pluck. Now, pluck is essentially bravery, or like a brave heart, brave soul kind of thing is what he's saying. And I actually didn't really think anything of this until I saw an interview with Moist Critical, who brought up that the only reason a lot of stuff happens in JoJo's, he believes, is because Bruford blessed the JoJo's line with luck. And that kind of goes into part 3, and that kind of makes the whole my stand's like your stand. Wow, isn't that lucky? It still plays into it, right? But I still kind of like don't like that they couldn't have come up with anything else besides Jotaro's stand is a power type like the world, so I can slow down time. Brother, what? But like I said, the whole luck and pluck thing, actually you can use that like as an explanation for a lot of stuff that happens in a lot of these different parts. Moving right along, we're just gonna go right into the cons. There's not a lot of pros in part 1, because part 1 is very short, and that's one of the cons. Con number 1 being the pacing is very fast. You don't really get to get comfortable with a lot of characters or get a liking to a lot of characters very easily, because it's like what, 8 to 12 episodes long, and a lot of these characters aren't in there for very long. They're like 3 to 4 episodes. Oh, he got ripped in half. 1 episode, just died, just cause. Like, you don't really get a lot of time with these characters. So that's why a lot of times you don't really get to feel sad when they die. You don't really get to feel happy when they accomplish much, because you're just like, oh, good for you, buddy. It's just kind of like, I just met you 7 minutes ago in the episode and you achieved your childhood dream, I guess. Like, here you go. It just, I don't know. Pacing was too quick, honestly. Like, I wish, because one of my friends, the same one who got me into it, he actually read the manga, and he's the one who told me that Jonathan, my bad. Jonathan's actually a little bit of an asshole in the beginning. Like, he's kind of a little douchebag who learns to be a gentleman. He isn't just a gentleman off rip. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But the second and final con of part 1 is one that shouldn't take too much time. They had wasted characters, much like part 3, but these ones were, in my opinion, they weren't as bad as like Avdol's wasted potential. They weren't nearly as bad. They just kind of felt like they were just kind of there to be plot or like be meat shields. And the characters I'm referring to are Strizo, Tom Petty, or Ton Petty, depending on, and Dyer. These are 3 guys who learned Hamon. There's Tom Petty, who's the master, who taught, I do believe, Zappelli. Then you have Strizo, who is also a student, and Dyer, who's a friend of Tom Petty. They all know Hamon. They all get bodied, besides maybe Strizo. Strizo's barely alive. Tom Petty gets killed. Dyer gets killed. He gets his head chopped off. There's so much that happens to them in like, what, an episode? Maybe an episode and a half. And that really plays into like the pacing so quick that you don't really get to meet these characters, learn a lot about them. They're just gone. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's whatever. Like I said, part 1 didn't have a lot of pros or a lot of cons because it is very short. There's not a lot to go off of. And the only things we really get is a lot of more lore of both Dio and the JoJo line, and so on and so forth, and other characters that will reappear in later snippets of the show. And that's why I put it at number 5, and that's why I put it over number 3, because number 3 had a lot of issues with it, and because it has more issues than part 5, I'm like, yeah, you should probably be the bottom. Just personally, me thinking. But moving right along to spot number 4, we have part 2. Now, part 2 is the one that takes place after part 1. If you haven't guessed, this takes place with Joseph. Now, the reason why I put this the way that I did, I also forgot the name of the part because I actually really enjoyed it because it's very funny. So part 2, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The name is, where are you? Battle Tendency. There we go. Battle Tendency. Now, going right into the pros, the comedy of this show is spectacular. This is by far probably the most comedic out of genuinely comedic, because part 3 can be argued to be the most comedic because there's a lot of dumb comedy and useless comedy in it, but part 2 has a lot of comedy that pays off. An example of this is Joseph just pulling out a Tommy gun on Strizo, because if you don't know, Strizo becomes a villain, but he pulls out a Tommy gun, and it was so funny because Strizo was like, I know your grandfather, you're nothing like him, and he's like, you're right, I am nothing like my grandfather. I was like, bro, what? I was like, that's insane. Or his dad. I don't know. I don't think it was his dad. I think it was his grandfather. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his grandfather. God, it was so funny. And then there's the whole pissing contest with, it's not an actual pissing contest. It's just two dudes getting into each other's faces and trying to say, like, who's the better guy, who's stronger. It's him and Caesar when they first meet, because Joseph's like, who cares about my family line? Who cares about family? And Caesar's like, that's the whole gimmick of it, right? I'm related to Zappelli because he's Caesar Zappelli. And he's like, my whole family line fought Dio just like yours. You should be, grateful that they did what they did so we can live the lives we do. They get into it. They start kissing random girls, doing random stuff, attacking each other. And then the girl that got kissed had a pigeon shoved down her throat that comes out. Like, it was insane. It was so stupid, but it was so funny. And, like, I do love Joseph, like, overall as a character. He's so funny. He's so cunning. And I'll die on this hill. Almost every part has a specific thing that I'll die on a hill for. He is the most entertaining JoJo of all time. Whether it is Prime Joseph, his younger self, or his older self. He is funny as hell. He is so, like, oh my God, in part 3. Holy shit. And part 2, your next line is going to be this. Your next line is this. Your next line is going to be this. Like, that whole thing was funny. Or, like, I think he throws a rock at Wamu, one of the pillar men, and he's like, so you're going to disgrace yourself by cheating? And he's like, what? Me? I'm not cheating. I'm tying my shoe. Like, he's a dirty fighter. Like, he really is, but he does it in such a fun way that you're just waiting for that to happen. Where he's like, all right, what happens here? Like, he literally had Cars, the leader of the pillar men, who's in his ultimate life form, right? He made him think that so let me rephrase. Joseph had Cars believe that he planned getting Cars onto a volcano, jumping off a cliff into an airplane, getting onto a volcano, having that volcano explode in a specific spot after punching it, shooting him into the stratosphere, into space. He genuinely thought that Joseph planned that. Joseph's like, yes, I did. In the back of his head, he's like, oh, I'm just happy all this so happened to be luck. I'm lucky this happened. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm doing? You can go back and be like, oh yeah, it's from part 1. That's why part 1's the foundation. Anyways, Joseph is easily the funniest, most entertaining JoJo out of all 6 parts that I've watched so far. I love him. He is so funny to watch. And if I had to be honest, part 2 would probably be the one that I'm most considering rewatching. But I'm really weird, and I have that weird concept of OCD, and this is like the only time you'll see me have OCD is I have to watch the parts in order. Same thing with Lord of the Rings. I can't just watch one of the Lord of the Rings movies. I have to watch all of them, and I gotta watch The Hobbit. But anyways, moving right along. Next up are the Pillarmen, which, if you don't know, the Pillarmen are like these race of people that I do believe were the ones who created the mask that turned Dio into a villain or into a vampire in the first one. They did that because they wanted to conquer the sun, and then they did that to make minions and stuff like that. The Pillar Men are essentially these guys who they're not necessarily vampires, but they are, because they're just interesting characters who I really like. They have healing abilities. They're super strong. You also have to use Hamon to burn them alive, kill them, and it takes a lot to kill them. Pillar Men overall were cool because you had Cars, who's the leader. You had Wamu, which is a general. You had AC/DC, which was a general. Then you had, what is your name? I always forget the first one. Santana. The first one you actually meet that gave Joseph a hard time was Santana. He was really cool. And overall, these guys are really cool. The Pillar Men are dope. Each one of them had unique abilities. Each one of them had really cool, like absolutely cool theme songs. Like Wamu's is probably my favorite. Wamu's is when he does that, it's like cyclone tornado thing that literally rips you to shreds. There's a part of it where it's like it turns into EDM music. Where it's just like bam ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. I was like, bro, this shit's hype as fuck. Like every time I see him on screen, I'm like, I can't wait for this. Overall, all of them are really cool. I love their designs. I love their powers. I love the idea of we are perfect. And if you don't know me, one of my favorite Dragon Ball Z villains is right behind me. Oh, over here. Cell. I love Cell all around because of the aspect and the mindset of I'm perfect, I'm better than you, and seeing them get mad when they're getting beat up or not making any sense. Like, oh, I should be stronger than you. This doesn't make sense. I'm perfect. Well, he's just lucky. Moving right along, we have the cons. And overall, I only had one con with the entirety of this whole thing. There's only one thing I did not like about it, and that is when Strizo becomes a villain of the show and becomes a vampire, he only lasts like an episode. I think it's only 2 episodes max. I genuinely wish he was longer. I wish there was 2 villains in the show. Strizo being the main small one, and then the Pillarmen after him. But he's only in like 2. That's it. That's my only gripe with part 2. And you're like, well, Damon, if you only have one con, why isn't this placed higher? Why is it placed at 4? Because the other parts have so goddamn much good stuff. Like, oh, I can't wait to talk about them. But yes, that is part 2 overall. Part 2 probably has the least amount of stuff to talk about, and that's why I put it in the spot that it's in, part 4, or spot 4, because if you have more cons than it, you should probably go down to part 5. Because it has what? So you have JoJo, Pillarman, and the comedy. 3 big things, and those 3 things are solid. Like these are very solid things to go off of. Because everything in a show, as long as it comes off good, the comedy, like I said, comes off very well. All the jokes landed for me. Whereas in part 3, a lot of the jokes were just missed. And it's not like they're over my head and I don't understand them. They're just blatantly dumb. They're stupid comedy. Part 2's comedy was peak. I love it. Can't wait to rewatch it eventually. Moving right along. Spot numbers 3, 2, and 1 actually took the longest time to think about. And I am not even lying. They took so much time to think about. And this, no matter which way I put these, this is just my list, and this is how I'm going to finalize it. And you already killed me for spot number 6. I don't care. Going right into it, part number 4. Spot number 3, I ruined it, is part number 4, Golden Experience. Or Golden Wind, depending on, I think it's different in English and Japanese. But I love this show. I love these parts with all my heart. Part 4 is in spot number 3. And I genuinely think it is because it has the best character development of a character who is arguably my favorite character, along with another one that's I haven't yet named. His name is Koichi Hirose. Koichi Hirose is probably the most relatable character to me because as a person who is considered like a geek or nerd, he's not really considered a geek or nerd. I don't think. No, he might be because he really is like, you need to go to class. You need to study. He would do what I would do. What the hell is a stand? How does a stand work? I got a stand. I'm going to use my stand. I'm going to use different ways to, amplify my stand or use my stand to its fullest abilities and then some. And on top of that, the more confident I become in myself, the more my fucking stand evolves. That is one of the coolest. Oh, it's so well developed because he's developing because his stand develops with him. He is the single-handedly one of the most well-written characters in the entire show. This character goes from being such a shutout, oh, I'm not going to raise my voice. No, I'm so sorry, to I'm a man and you're a bitch and I'm going to show you why. Like, it's just, he puts his foot down, starts beating people up. He starts saying what he loves, what he doesn't love, what he likes, he just starts being himself more than ever and not being afraid to do it. If you can't tell, I love Koichi's character. He's so cool. Moving right along from his character development and him being the best character development in the entire show. Once again, dying on this hill. There's a lot of hills that have my body parts on it. Another pro is this is probably the only part where you actually see characters with their stands using their stands outside of fighting in everyday life. Example of this is Tony the chef. He is, I believe, Italian. He opens up his own restaurant, which makes Okuyasu go in and kind of look like he's getting mauled or killed or hurt. And Josuke's like, what's going on with him? Because when you eat when you eat Tonio's food that's imbued with his stand, your body will literally start breaking bones. Your skin will start falling off. Your eyes will start watering. You'll start bleeding out of your pores. It looks like body gore, but what's really going on is Tony's actually purifying you. He's helping you. He's making it so your stress goes away. He's giving you brand new muscles. He's making your joints better. He's making your bones stronger, your skin cleaner. It's just a very gruesome way to get there. Another one is Shigekio. He's a little tiny middle schooler who has Harvest. And he just has Harvest literally just going around collecting chump change. That's it. Just chump change. And the reason why I thought that was cool is because he was just an innocent kid who had no friends. He's kind of a dickhead throughout the entire show. Once he becomes friends with people, he's kind of a dick. But Shigekio just basically was just using his Harvest to collect random change. That's it. And he's not hurting anybody. He's not stealing from anybody because the change is on the floor underneath vending machines, and takes it all, saves it up, and gets money from it. Next up is Aya. She is is it cosmetologist is what she is? She does like makeup and stuff, and the way she does it is she like peels off your eyes, and it's not in the sense of like, oh, your eyes are out, they're all blank. No, she literally, it's almost like someone cuts into paper mache and takes that part out, so it's hollowed, and then she'll switch it out for brand new eyes. Like, she can literally change your appearance, your hair, your body. Like, it's really cool. Her stand is really awesome, and she does it as a job, much like Tony. And that's why I really like seeing that in this show. It's like, it's nice seeing characters beat the dog piss out of each other, but it's cool seeing what they do when they don't punch each other, like when they're doing other things. Another one is Kira. Kira is such an amazing villain. He's not my favorite, but he is easily up there. Top 3, if not top 2, because he is a villain for the sake of being a villain. Because Neo, I don't want to die. I want to become immortal, so I'm going to become a vampire. And I'm going to ruin the Jojos. He has a point. Kira just has a fetish with hands. He'll cut a woman's like half forearm down, and he has a fetish with female hands, and he just kills people for the sake of killing. That's it. And his stand was made to kill people. It's crazy. Love it. Love everything about him. I love how methodical he is and how thorough he is. But his biggest flaw of his character, which fits so well, is he's overconfident. Oh, there's no way they know it's me, because I'm Kira. I've done this for 20 years. Haven't got caught. Well, you never met a motherfucker named Koichi now, have you, bitch? But yeah, Kira, awesome character. Villain, significantly better than part 2 villain, part 1 villain, and part 3 villain. I honestly will say that Kira is a better villain than Dio. And I said, this is probably the only part where there's 2 hills. I'll die on this. Kira is a better villain than Dio. Dio is just a fucking dude who got powers, who is throwing a fit. Oh, Jonathan. Oh, I hate that I had to take your body. Oh, the Jojos ruined my life. Oh, bro, you're immortal. You could have done anything else with your life. You could have taken over the world in different ways. But no, you wanted to make sure the Jojos knew where you were and how they worked. Also, if you don't know, should have brought this up in part 3. Stand users are attracted to each other, not sexually. You will eventually cross paths with a stand user, whether it's good or bad. You'll just always run into stand users. They're drawn to each other like magnets. But yeah, Kira's really cool. Better written than both Dios. Better written than the Pillarmen. He is literally a villain for the sake of being a villain. That's literally it. He just wants to kill because he can. That's it. The cons with this, there's only 2. These ones are pretty quick. Nothing really to say here. The invisible baby. It's a baby that got stand powers that makes her and anything like within a vicinity of her go invisible. He's just kind of there. He really is. Like, at least Iggy was overhyped. At least he did some stuff. The baby really doesn't do much. Baby's just there. That's it. Doesn't come back. We don't know what happens to her. We don't know what goes on. We just know that she gets adopted by Joseph later on, towards the end. That's it. He's just there. Last but not least is Miki Taka, who is an alien. Should have been used more, and I really do believe it. I really feel like they could have tied him into being an alien, because we find out in part 6, or was it part 5? Part 5. We learned that like stands are essentially aliens, because it was like this metal that came from a meteor, and then the people of Earth made that meteor into spears. And when you get touched by the spear, if you're strong enough, if you have enough like willpower, you essentially manifest a stand. If you don't, you just die. And I think Miki Taka would have been a really cool character to be like, oh, I know what this does. I know this arrow. It comes from planet blah, blah, blah. Or he can even be like, oh, to you guys, it gives you power. To us, it's our food. And he just eats it. Like, I don't know. He was a cool character, and I wish they would have done more with him. Or at least, like, referenced him. Because it could have easily been like, oh, we learned this from a guy named Miki Taka. Or this weird-looking alien guy. And if you don't know Miki Taka, he looks like Legolas. I'm going to have a picture, I think, over here. Somewhere for each character, if not on the screen while I'm talking the entire time. But yeah, Miki Taka, I just wish they utilized him better, in my opinion. But here comes the top 2, and whether you agree with me or not, hey, if you made it this far into this episode of the podcast, kudos to you. I believe this will be on YouTube first, the Friday of, I think it's the 24th. Yes. And then that following Tuesday, it'll be on podcasts everywhere else. But, moving right along, spot number 2 and 1. Drum roll, please. I don't know if you can hear this, but you probably can. Spot 2, Part 6, Stone Ocean. Now, hear me out. A lot of people are going to get mad. Stone Ocean's actually really good. A lot of people are going to be like, I hate this. I hate this guy. Shave him bald. Crack his toe knuckles. Tape them together. Part 6 is number 2. And I don't feel bad about it because you already know what the last part is. It's Part 5. And I'm going to get right into Part 6, Stone Ocean, because Part 6 was great. I loved it. Everything about it. By the way, Part 4 is not Golden Wind. I just realized Part 4. People are going to hate me because I said I did my research, but I did my research on the pros and cons, not the names of the shows. But long story short, Part 4 is called, is it Unbreakable Diamond? I believe, or Diamond is Unbreakable is what it was. Part 6, Stone Ocean. The pros of this are going to be, there's a lot of pros in this one. A lot of pros. So just starting off, there's a lot of good characters in this. A lot. Like, a solid one is FF. FF is a character who is plankton given sentience. If I'm not mistaken, that is what she said as a character. Because technically, they don't have a gender. They just take over a female's body. So therefore, in order to fit in, they refer to FF as a female. FF is literally a bunch of plankton that were given sentience, given smarts by Poochie. And they got their own, stand. And their stand is ridiculous. It gives them the ability to shoot bullets, gives them the stand to, or gives them the ability to regenerate body parts, limbs, organs. It's insane. They can heal other people. So what they do is their biggest weakness is water. And what I mean by that is it's not water touching them. It's that they need water. They need to drink a lot of water to survive. Just, she's a well-written character. I was sad to watch her leave. I'm sad that she wasn't brought up in anything else. I really did feel for her, and she was just plankton. And there's a character in the show who, as soon as he started going, "You're nothing but plankton," I would have just slapped him and been, "Bitch, you shut up. You have done nothing productive until I showed up. So shut your mouth." Next up, probably the coolest character in the entire part, Weather Report. Or Weather Forecast, once again. He is probably the coolest character in the entire part of Part 6. This dude is so strong that he was stated that he could just destroy the ozone layer if he wanted to. Wanna know why? His stand controls weather. If it's a phenomenon, he can do it. For example, what was it? I think it was a tornado or like a thunderstorm. He made it, or it was a thunderstorm. He made a storm of frogs, poisonous frogs, fall from the sky. You want to know why? Because there was a phenomenon that was recorded in human history that made it happen. If it's in human history, if it's been recorded, it's been done, he can replicate it. Oh, there's a hole in the ozone? Guess what? I'm going to make multiple holes in the ozone because I can. Oh, the air is too thin here? Guess what? I'm going to make it so there's no air right here at all. He's easily the coolest character in Part 6. I could argue top 3 coolest characters. I could argue he's in the top 3 at least. He's sick as hell. He's cool. I'm gonna die on the hill again. But next up is, like I said, spoiler. His brother, Poochie, which that's a big reveal too, is that Poochie and Weather Report are brothers. And Poochie's a piece of shit through and through. He's a cool piece of shit. He's my favorite villain overall. He is my favorite villain overall. And you might think, well, if your favorite villain is in part 2 or is in spot number 6, I can't speak. In part 6, but spot number 2, why isn't he in spot number 1? You'll find out. But Poochie overall, I actually do like his resolve. I like so much work that he actually went into it. And it's just, he's a well-written villain. Like, he waited 20 plus years to make his plan work and planned everything out to it. And once again, like I said, you shouldn't be watching this far ahead if like I said, spoilers from the beginning, shouldn't be watching this video until you finish every part. He does do what he wants. He gets rid of the JoJo bloodline. He kills everyone but one character. He did everything. He did everything he needed to. He also gets 3 goddamn different fucking stands throughout the entire show. It's confusing at one point because technically, well, no, because I don't think he has the ability of the other stands when he has the new ones. He gets new stands because he's technically evolving. It's really crazy. It's insane. So his original stand is, I think it's Purple Snake. Yeah. He can take memories out of your brain because they come out as like CDs. Like, he can snatch them from you. You can also do that with your stand. So if he takes your memories, you don't remember who you are. If he takes your stand, you're just a lifeless husk. And that's what happens to Jotaro in this part. And that's what happened to Weather Report. He gets his memories taken. He doesn't know who he is. He's just kind of there. But overall, Poochie's a very solid-ass villain. And like I said, he's, I think, the only villain who did what he wanted to do. You can argue Dio, but that's not what Dio wanted. Dio wanted to get rid of the entire JoJo bloodline eventually. But technically, you could argue it in part 1. But part 6, Poochie is amazing. Love his design. He looks so clean. His hairline, his, like, everything about him, his priest down, is it, that he has? Everything about him was cool as hell, dude. His new redesign when he evolves, everything was cool about him. And moving right along, probably another character who has really good development I fucking love and who is in fights with Koichi for my favorite character, because it used to be Avdol until I got to part 4, and then it was like, oh, Koichi's probably up there with Avdol and they're fighting. Then when I met Emporio, Avdol got moved to 2, Koichi and Emporio are fighting each other at part 1. Emporio is such a well-written goddamn character with, in my opinion, an overpowered stand. His stand lets him use ghost objects, which essentially he's in a room that burned down at the prison. So he can sneak into this room, which is almost like a different dimension almost. It's just essentially like a hidden room. And it's not a room that's hidden behind a wall where you push a wall, it opens, there's a room. No, he literally gets sucked into it. Like, he's almost getting pulled into a portal. And now he's in that room by himself. And you can't get in there if you don't know where it is, right? He's so cool. Emporio's sick. He's a very smart guy. He knew how to fucking fly a helicopter as a kid. And long story short, the reason why he's in this prison in Stone Ocean, because the whole thing takes place in a prison, a majority of it takes place in a prison. His mother gave birth to him there, and no one knew about it, so he just hid himself away for that entire time. Another pro of this is the story overall. Solid story. Probably the second best story out of it is the second best story because it's in spot number 2. It is the second best story in my opinion throughout the entire show. In the entire show, it is the second best. I don't give a shit whatever people say. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'll give you a kiss on the forehead when I tuck you in tonight after punching you. It is the second best written story in the entire thing. And the ending of it, where it's a universe restart with Emporio being the only fucking person to remember, was so heartbreaking, bro. I sobbed. I didn't cry. I fucking sobbed over Emporio. He has such a bittersweet ending. It was so good, but shit, that hurt, man. And then the ending credits was really cool, too, because part 6 is the last part of the main universe of JoJo's before everything got restarted. And it's kind of sad to know that all those characters died and none of those things actually happened. Or I think that's what it is that none of those things actually happened the way they were supposed to. There's no Dio and JoJo fighting each other. It's just, oh, no, they just happen to be there, but they have different names. For example, Jolene isn't Jolene. What was her name? Irene, I think is what her name was. Everyone got different names besides Emporio. They have different backstories now. But overall, I think that was the best thing because there's a lot of tragic stories in every part of JoJo's. For the cons, there's not much. I did not like the beginning of JoJo's Stone Ocean Part 6 because Jolene is the dumbest fucking JoJo in the first couple episodes. Now, listen to me again. She is the dumbest JoJo in those first 4 to 5 episodes. Now, you might think, well, if she's that dumb, it makes you mad. Why isn't she lower on the list? Because Brody, the guy who got me into JoJo's, once again, I discussed this with him. I forgot she's 1, a teenager. 2, she has abandonment issues. 3, she has this bad girl like esque phase that she's going through. 4, she was in puppy love. She thought she loved this guy. No, she just got used, and she like was told, "Oh, you got used." Oh, I don't believe that it was him. He literally told you. You overheard the conversation with your ex-boyfriend and the fucking lawyer that you got screwed. But you still were like, "No, I love him." And then like eventually she gets over it. She says, "Fuck this guy, I don't like him," But it was those first 5 episodes, just I could not stand her. She had a lot of decisions she made was stupid, just dumb. But like I can't get too harsh on her because she is a child. She is 17, I believe. Like she has a lot of issues. It's that simple. The next con that I had that kind of got like confusing, and I think the only reason why this is a con is because it still doesn't make sense to me. Even though the explanation makes sense, it doesn't. So the explanation of what's happening makes sense, but the explanation from other parts of what a stand is doesn't make sense to me. And here's why. So Pale Snake, Pale Snake can take your memories like a CD from your head, right? He can take your stand ability, right? Well, he can give that stand to other people. And here's the weird part. That stand can then be used by other people if they are strong, if they're mentally strong enough. But that doesn't make sense to me. Like that part makes sense that it's just a CD, so you insert it into someone's head who doesn't have a stand. Boop. Or if they do have a stand, you just switch the stands out. That makes sense. It's simple. But the thing that doesn't make sense is, how does a stand that is manifested of someone else's life force and mental fortitude stay within someone who isn't that person who has the same mental fortitude and life force as that person? Like that just sounds weird to me, right? Because they make it sound in part 6 that as long as you're mentally fortified up here, you can just have anybody's stand. And that's just, I don't know, that just seemed weird to me. Excuse me. I guess I don't know if I really count that as a con. It was just really weird overall. And that was just, I guess, a gripe more than a con, but I put it in the cons because like it just seems like it shouldn't work, but it does. And I don't know, it just seems weird to me overall. It just seems weird that this person is taking essentially your manifestation of your life force and giving it to someone else who doesn't have the same life force as you, but can use your ability to its fullest degree. Like it just seems weird. But yeah, that was about it for part 6. Not much to really get mad about. It was just like smaller things. Like I said, they get smaller and smaller as I go on. And if you haven't guessed already, Golden Experience, Golden Wind, I believe, because there's a lot of different things. Part 5 is in spot number 1. This is my favorite part overall. And this is after speaking with Brody, going through, making sure that I got a lot of the details correct. Besides the name, my biggest struggle so far was the names of each part, because I just call them part 1, 2, 3, 4. I know they actually have actual part names, and I do apologize. But part 5, there's really not a lot to really talk about pro and con wise in the sense of like thoroughly explaining more, like getting deep into conversation with them. The entire crew of part 5 is a 10 out of 10 for me. Each character has a reason for doing what they're doing. Each character's backstory makes sense. Each character's power is absolutely amazing. Each character actually gets used and gets their own little thing. Now, you can argue Fugo, but Fugo gets his own fight scene. Like he actually has a fight scene that makes sense, and you get to see a reason why he leaves the group. The reason being is that he doesn't want to go against the boss. He doesn't want to lose everything. He doesn't want to know everyone that he loves die before him, right? So like it makes sense why he leaves. Like every character, Abakio was cool, Rancha was cool, Guido, I think it's Guido Mista. Mista was dope. Bucciarati was cool. Giorno, like the entire group of like the main characters was amazing. They are hands down the best group out of every single part in the 6 parts that are animated. They are the coolest characters. Their entire group is solid. Their camaraderie at first isn't good, but when it does get good, it is amazing. Let me rephrase. Their camaraderie with the main character, Giorno, isn't good at first, but their camaraderie with each other, phenomenal. Emperor Crimson and goddamn Doppio is one of the coolest villain concepts out of the whole show. The fact that Doppio is a split off personality of Diavolo or Diavolo, however you say his name, because some people say it differently. And Doppio believes that he is helping the boss as a subordinate when in reality he is him. I love the little tick that Doppio does, where when he walks around, he goes, doo, 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 and he's making it sound like something's ringing. This dude has picked up a banana, a shoe, a rock, and he talks into the phone as if it's the boss calling him, when in reality it's in his mind. Now, the thing that's even like cooler to them is a person cannot have more than one stand ability. Even though Kira kind of dipped his toes in that, but it's the same stand killing people, so it can be argued. It's weird. Dio also had Purple Hermit and the world. The whole body of Jonathan, head of Dio thing, can be argued. But this one is two different people manifested two different souls, so they have their own. They have their own abilities. Here's the cool part. Doppio's ability is like, what is the word I'm looking for? Is it premonition? Where I think it's premonition, where he can look 10 seconds into the future. It's insane. Like, his whole thing is that he can look 10 seconds in the future. He also gets Emperor Crimson's arms. Like, he can use his arms, and he thinks that's the boss giving him the okay to use his arms, when in reality, it's technically his own ability. Emperor Crimson having the ability to take time and push it forward. So, for example, if I drop this, right? Took what, a fraction of a second from here to here? What Emperor Crimson does is he takes the time it would take to go from here to here, and he basically takes it away. He erases that half second from my hand, from each hand. So you would see this, half a second later you'd see that. You wouldn't see me let go, you wouldn't hear me let go. It just sped up because he took that time away. It's cool. His voice is dope. The transformation between Doppio and Diavolo is like a physical one. Like, you see him get shorter, get weaker, get kind of more like cowardly. And then when he turns back into Diavolo, he gets bigger, bulkier, he gets more firm. I'm always like, dude, this is cool. It's literally like Bruce Banner in the Hulk. Like, that's probably why I liked it a lot. And that's why I really enjoyed him. And he's a really overall solid villain. And he's probably number 2. He's probably the second coolest villain. Because it would go Poochie, Crimson, and then it would go Kira. Those three are just amazing. They're really good characters. They're really solid villains. Moving right along, the only cons I really had, 2 of them are kind of just cons. Like, I was being as nitpicky as I could, and these 2 are just kind of like more like, yeah, they're critiques, but they're not that big of like ooh, these suck, these are terrible. Giorno's a robot. Jotaro at least moved when he did things. Like, Jotaro's like, I'm the same as you. You can't stop my punch. I'll get you. Giorno's like, oh no. He's been shot. Bucciarati. Run. He does have moments where he does actually show emotion, where he screams and you can hear the voice after screaming. But overall, his personality isn't bland. It's a robot. That's interesting. Why would you say that? I understand now. He's just robotic. That's about it. Like, I can't really crap on him too much because he does have a lot of like cool things that happen in the show, but his personality is just robotic. Next con is the reveal of Bucciarati could have been significantly better. So, if you don't know, Bucciarati does die. First time he meets the boss, or quote unquote meets the boss, Emperor Crimson cuts him from his shoulder down through his chest, killing him. Now, Giorno's whole thing is he can heal you, but not in the sense of heal your wounds. He replaces the damaged tissues, the damaged things. He replaces the injured stuff with new stuff. He doesn't heal what you already have. So Bucciarati being already dead, he just healed him. The only thing that was happening was since he died, he became an inanimate object because an animate object has life in it. And Giorno can heal or can switch things out but he can also bring life to inanimate objects. Now, the reason I said I wanted this to be revealed better is because not even an episode later, you already see that Bucciarati stepped on something, or I think he puts his hand on something and it punctures his hand, but there's no blood and he doesn't feel anything. And to me, that already gave it away that, oh, he's dead. And that happens at least 2 more times throughout the show. I feel like they could have at least waited a couple episodes for that instead of right away, because they really just are like, oh, he died. Oh, yeah, he's not bleeding. He doesn't feel any pain. I'm like, oh, man. He's a cool-ass character, though. Like I said, it's not that nitpicky. I just wished it would have been dealt with better. And the last one is just here because I'm being petty. Rosado got hoed by plot. Rosado was about to kill not only Doppio, but Emperor Crimson. Now, Rosado, he probably is the drippiest character in the show. Honestly, probably the coolest looking character in the show. His eyes are super dark, cool looking. Got a necklace that spells out risotto. His whole outfit is dope. I think he's the one that has Metallica. I think it's him that has Metallica as his stand, which it basically makes metal appear out of any part of your body. Like he had razor blades coming out of Doppio's throat, coming out of his arms, his body. Like, ugh. It was brutal, but like the only reason Risotto died is because he got snuck up on by Narancia thinking that he was a bad guy, which he was, but not to them at that moment. He was about to kill the main villain, and he got hoed by plot. But yeah, like I said, other than that, that's all I really got to say. And this is the updated list, and this is the final list of the main parts of the main universe, parts 1 through 6. And I don't think I'll ever change, even through another watch through, because these are all very thought out points. These are all like researched points. Like I actually went back, looked at things, watched things to make sure that I actually genuinely love these things, genuinely hate these things, or genuinely just feel genuinely feel in between about them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Got nothing else really to say. If you don't agree with it, then I'm sorry. Like, I'm not gonna say that this is the best list ever. No, there's probably lists out there that you agree with more than mine or hate more than mine. That's okay. This is just my opinion. But I do appreciate y'all sticking around with me, staying tuned with you. And I more than likely will do more of these for the podcast and YouTube, obviously, because I want to grow as a content creator. But with all that being said, I want to thank you so much for sticking through this, hour and 30 minutes, hour 15, hour and 16 minutes with me. And without further ado, I'll make sure to catch you guys in the lobby the next time you decide to queue up.